Hi, my name is Ann Brazo. I'm the CEO of MPN Advocacy and Education International. We just hosted our very first pediatric and young adult MPN program in Chicago, Illinois. And although we had some parents and young adults speak at this event, we thought it would be very advantageous to those of you out there who just recently had a child diagnosed with an MPN, or you are a young adult who was just diagnosed with an MPN. And so we are going to interview some of those parents that were here today. Thank you very much for coming to our first annual Pediatric and Young Adult MPN program. And thank you for allowing me to interview you for a few moments. So Manoj, your daughter has an MPN.
Yeah.
How old is she and when was she diagnosed?
She's 16 years old, a junior in high school. She was diagnosed, I want to say about 2 years ago, I believe, a year and a half, 2 years ago. She was about 15, around that age, I believe.
And diagnosed with?
She was diagnosed with essential thrombocythemia.
Okay. And what did you do after that? What was the first thing you did after that?
I am an engineer by trade, graduate school from that, and so my tendency is to go research, and so I cope by learning as much as I can.
Sure.
So I tried to learn as much as I could about what ET was about, and then discovered the name MPN from that. I used Google Scholar to find folks who had written papers touching anything near that, and I emailed all the authors and their emails, if I could find them, to ask them questions about what this is and how I can learn more about it, because I couldn't find public information that would teach it to me in an easy way.
Sure.
Even though there's some sites that have it as a high level, it wasn't very satisfying to read high level descriptions of a serious disease.
Okay. Yeah. And so were you happy with your hematologist in your community? Did you feel like you were getting the advice and treatment that you needed as a parent with a young child with this disease?
That's a great question. We were very fortunate. We live in Albuquerque, and University of New Mexico has, I guess, a nationally recognized pediatric program. And so Dr. Winter,
that's okay.
Yeah, was our first pediatric hematologist, and he immediately took on the situation, admitted what he did not know. And so we were, to answer your question, I guess short sentences would be, we were very happy because he put us at ease. And he reached out to the community, even some of the folks that I had reached out to already. So I knew that he was reaching out, and he started attending some of these conferences to learn more about it.
Good.
And so he seemed to quickly get on top of the situation for my daughter.
That is fantastic.
And so we were very fortunate, by the way. I don't know if that's the norm. I don't think it is.
I don't think it is. However, I mean, you're making a very good point, and one that was made in the session today, and that is, there has to be a sense of humility with the physician.
Yes.
Who will be open to learning more and open to attending a conference and really communicating with other physicians that might be able to help them navigate through treatment options and so on.
Yes.
So I'm so glad to hear you're happy with your hematologist. That's a plus.
Yes.
So how is your daughter doing?
She's doing, I would say, very well. She didn't really show a lot of symptoms of the disease. So when we first took her in, it was related to her having issues with her stomach, like being nauseated when she did strenuous exercise. I believe, in hindsight, after talking to some specialists like Dr. Mesa, he stated that can actually occur with folks with ET. And so they did some blood work related to that, and that's when they found it. But in general, she's healthy, but even before that, she's had cases of headaches and migraines, which we never related to this.
Sure.
But we were managing that pain at that point with yoga and meditation and all. They have a great program at UNM where they try to teach various ways to deal with, manage with the stress and pain associated with her headaches and things. And so because of that, I think she's doing very well.
Sorry.
Yeah.
What medication, if any, is she taking?
She was started off on hydroxyurea, and it was about 1,000 milligrams, which is, I can't remember what that is, per kilogram kind of thing for her. And that ended up reducing her platelet count a lot. And then interferon was added to it with the hopes of reducing the hydroxyurea, which I think just this week her current hematologist said, let's take her off.
Okay, great.
And so interferon and hydroxyurea to this point, and I think from here on out, it's going to be interferon only, the pegylated interferon.
As a parent, what wisdom would you impart to other parents out there that are just hearing the news that their child has an MPN, or a parent that is really at a loss and is just going through the system and going through whatever they're being told to do? What 3 things would you say to that parent and to those parents?
Okay, that's a great question. I guess the first thing I would say is knowledge is empowerment.
Mm-hmm.
I think the more you can learn, the better you'll have a handle on the situation.
Mm-hmm.
The second thing I would say related to that, though, is there's a lot of, you have to parse through a lot of knowledge. And with this kind of disease, there's a lot of information out there not meant for your eyes because it doesn't apply to your children's situation.
Mm-hmm.
It's meant for older folks. And sometimes parsing that technical data, I think, extremely challenging. And so you got to be careful of basically all the information. And I guess the point being for both of those is I think you have to take on the role of being the advocate for your kid, for your child. It's always, I have to admit, early on I was always looking for someone to take that from me and rely on that person so the stress levels would be reduced for me. But I did manage to deal with my stress and still keep that role. I think that's critical. And finding support, I think now with what you guys have set up, I think there's more easily findable, discoverable communication and support. I would take advantage of that. I would reach out to folks who've had it, the parents, attend this. This was wonderful, by the way.
Thank you very much.
It made me feel a lot better about hearing what's going on over there. It's a great support mechanism. So kind of in those 3 things probably.
We do a lot of outreach with hematologists, and we have that new little booklet for pediatric MPN docs to give out to their patients and parents. But we also want to really start a solid, formal network. And so it's totally optional, and we hope to make that a very private, with the consultation of hematologists that specialize with pediatric MPN and young adults. Would you rate that as something very important in the grander scheme of things?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Because I think the work I've done personally on the last several years, where you hear that your child's the only one with the issue and there's not a lot of literature on children having this disease, and the data that has taken me that long to obtain, now I think for folks, if they can get that information in a shorter period of time, I think that's wonderful. Finding the support community, finding connections to folks who specialize in it, I think making that easier, accessible for everyone, I think is great. That's a no-brainer in my opinion.